Hello, my name is Lindy Cowling and welcome to my channel. My website is www.lindycowling.co.uk. My email is info@lindycowling.co.uk. And the title of this spontaneous video, which is spontaneous because I didn't plan it, is In the Name of a Flame. That coincidentally happens to be the logo or the name of my website as well, and has been for about 15 to 18 months. But when I sat down to put this out on camera a few minutes ago, that was just the name I knew it had to be, the name of a flame. So what do I mean by the name of a flame? All of us have within us spiritual essence. The highest form of our expression on this planet is our spiritual essence, our spirit essence, our inner fire, our inner flame. Everyone has that divine fire within. Not everyone is aware of it, and not everyone will choose to access it, and not everyone gets the opportunity to access it, but it is actually there. And that inner passion, that inner fire, certain life events or certain soul connections or certain spirit connections, certain dramatic twists and turns in life can fire up, raise the intensity of the inner flame. So everyone has that capacity, but for various reasons not everyone will access that or choose to access that. But millions will, and are, and will be to come. So that is your inner flame, your inner passion. And sometimes that can be, if you think about a gas ring on a cooker, if it's on really low, certain life events or meeting certain people can make that flame come onto its full power, its full brightness, like turning the gas up on the gas ring, so it's really, really intense. It's not just another person that can bring that about, not just a twin flame, not just a heart awakening catalyst, not just a soulmate. You can get that inner flame inspiration from any creative endeavor, a piece of art, music, film, nature, you know, the natural world, through animals, connecting into anything that brings that flame alive. Now, some people's flame is so dimmed, so low, that they are not aware of it at all, and in some senses are barely alive. That's not to say that they look sick or even physically sick, but they can walk around an entire lifetime, almost comatose really, running on the programming and the subconscious mind and not aware of anything that really brings them alive and brings that spark, brings that rush of energy and wires them straight into the source they are. So this is one explanation of what I mean, what I mean about flame, is that we all have inside us that spiritual essence, that spiritual fire. So for example, when about 15 to 18 months ago I named my website, or the logo across it, in the name of flame, I had partly I had that in mind, and partly I had the next part of the explanation, or where I'm going with this video, in mind, and that is my spiritual fire, my divinity was ignited by connecting on a spiritual level in the twin flame union, in the twin flame frequency. And so when I made the decision on a soul level to step forward physically solo and to continue and expand in an act of service and share and show spiritual energy and embody spiritual energy, that's where that title came from, in the name of flame. In some ways an expression and a statement really of I am going to take this forward, I am going to do what we came here to do, and I am going to embody and embrace and allow that spiritual fire, listen to my heart, listen to my soul, and go forward with that. Now again, millions have the opportunity to do that as they connect into their own divinity within, their own heart, their source, through the different ways I just mentioned. For me, it obviously had to be that way, and I had no preconceived ideas of it being that way and knew nothing about the twin flame union. It was that way because my role is, as I just explained, to in some ways model that, learn through that, and help show others, help share with others, help guide others, help teach others. And so for me, that frequency was the chosen way that I chose to do this, and chose to do the bulk of my work through and my own spiritual evolution through. Which brings me on to the next part. I've noticed in the course of working with clients across the world that a great deal of spiritual connections, when I say spiritual connections, I will just clarify again, I'm talking genuine twin flame union, This is a tiny percentage of the population, tiny percentage, but genuine twin flames, soulmates, which is a large percentage of the population, both the old school soulmates and ascensionary soulmates, the new form of spiritual soul connections that are developing as we speak, and also catalysts, heart awakening catalysts, life-changing catalysts, catalysts that connect on a heart level and often level of spirit as well. So I'm talking about all of those categories. So in the course of my work, when I'm working with people that are dancing with or have had experience of these energies, there is often a crossroads, an intersection, if you like, where one or both individuals or one or both parties involved in the connection has to make a decision on the level of the soul if they are going to step into the fire, if they are going to step into the flame in all senses of the word. Certainly with twin flames, if they're going to step into the flame, if they're going to step into their inner flame, if they're going to embody who they truly are. And also, I cannot separate that from service orientated and mission orientated, because of course that's all interwoven with this. And so there's a decision on the level of the soul. And it inevitably comes down to this when we're talking about that level of connection. Does one step forward into who they truly are, show who they truly are, live who they truly are, embody it, both for themselves but as this part of service orientated, mission orientated? I'm certainly referring to the twin flame union in this. Or does one decide, I'm going to use the word here, I'm going to use the word decide to settle for a not quite so expansive version of themselves. What I see across the world is I see that happening across the board. I see that happening in a small percentage of twin flame unions. I see mainly the feminine making the decision to step forward in the name of a flame and hold that frequency, try and move forward, be true to themselves. Often they're service orientated, and I most often see the other party has turned away and gone into a conventional scenario, a conventional relationship, or conventional patterning. I'm going to stress here that is largely across the population. Now, I know for a fact there are some males out there, not many that I know of, but some males out there that most certainly have stepped into their fullness, have stepped into their heart, are going through their process, are sharing their process, are opening up, and are most definitely service orientated. So I'm not saying there aren't any, because there are. And those that there are, they stand out a mile with their spiritual frequency, their spiritual energy, their compassion. And a few of them are genuine twin flames. Not many but a few really are twin flames doing that. Others have been through a process of a catalyst experience, a soul experience, and it's still driven them to open up, and they're still very much wanting to share that and doing wonderful work as a result of that. So I'm not ruling out the males here, but I'm going to have to say it, call it as I'm finding it. And the majority, I would put it up as high as 80 to 90% females. Now, I'm just talking about the females that have decided to step into the flame in the name of a flame, to either continue, you would call it a mission, continue in an act of service. They're standing in their power, very loving, powerful, strong women, great healers, true spiritual energy, that purity. But I'm also talking about the women that they're not necessarily out there in an act of service for someone, but they are still standing in their power, they're still walking their walk, they're still the embodiment of it, they're being true to who they truly are, whatever circumstances they're in. And without doubt, there is for sure more of the feminine aspect doing that than we're seeing of the male aspect of that. Now, what I can say, I'm not speaking negatively about this. I'm saying as it is, what's happening, and I've noticed this for over a year. I've been talking to my clients about it. Now, it makes me smile because many of my female clients that I'm dealing with come to a stage where they say, hang on a minute, I've done my work on myself, I've gone through the ringer here, I've got all this healing, all this work done, I've stood in my power, I'm helping others, or I'm being true to myself, I'm really standing in the flame here, I am the embodiment of truth in spiritual energy, and yet I am doing that solo. And they will say their spiritual connection, again in a small percentage of cases, twin flame union, my catalyst, my twin, the soulmate, whatever label you want to put on it, is not around them, and they are doing it on their own. And by this stage they may be still in a marriage, they may have left the marriage, they may be single mums. I see people from all walks of life, very beautiful people. I include the males in that as well. The males I have connected with, some have got amazing spiritual energy going through their process. People I connect with, there's some amazing spiritual players out there, amazing, beautiful, strong women, and also some beautiful, strong men, but they are in such a small minority at the moment in this capacity. And the women will say to me, like I say, I've done all my work, I've done my stuff, I'm doing my process. And they're not saying it that they've been doing it two weeks or 2 months. These are years in. These are like 2 or 3 years down the line, or even further than that. And they're getting to a point where they're feeling, to be quite honest, a bit cheated by the universe. I mean, I hear this story all over the world. And they feel like that because they're at a point now where they know who they are, they're not codependent, they are totally complete and in their power, they don't need to be with a masculine presence, they don't need to be with a man, but they would love to share their expression of complete consciousness with a complete consciousness in a man. And I see it all over the world. And they say to me, Lindy, what comes next? What comes next, Lindy, when we've been in the twin flame union and we're now separate, and we've been separate for many years? What comes next, Lindy, when we've had a catalyst and it's turned our life upside down, and we're now no longer in our marriages, or we're single mums with kids, or we've left country, or we've left state? Like I say, they say, what comes now, Lindy? When we've done all this work and you can feel the divine love emanating from them, they're glowing on webcam, they look amazing, they feel amazing, and they say, what comes next? I'm going to use this really, it would sound a bit of a corny expression really. I'm going to say that energy, again, this old saying, nature abhors a vacuum. So does energy. It would be absolutely catastrophic for humanity and our civilization were it to be just the feminine principle holding the flame in the name of the flame, and the male not being represented in masculine form alongside them. The balance across this planet, a balance of masculine and feminine energy. Now, it is out of balance. It's not out of balance by much, but it is out of balance, because I feel that the majority of males that are holding the flame in the name of a flame are embodying their spiritual fire, are being true to themselves, are not necessarily on camera, and they're not stepping forward, and they're not making themselves known. And so they're under the radar, because when I feel into that energy, I know there's an imbalance, but it's not by much. It's not huge. It's not really worrying. It's not devastating. But there is an imbalance, and I see it across the world. And I'm going to stress this point. As a woman, I'm enormously proud of the women I work with, because what a change in them in a year. When I was doing this a year ago, I was so much seeing women desperately trying to make these spiritual connections fit a relationship scenario. And I've said this many times, and I will continue to say it. Up until now, most spiritual connections haven't been relationship templated. It's changing. That's not necessarily changing for the twin flame union, because they're service orientated, but it is changing. That's what the twin flames came in for, to lay down the frequency in the template, so it changed. So that connecting spiritually and in soul with people will become the norm. So it is changing. But I've seen this phenomenal change in the people I work with, the clients I work with, and I work obviously with more women than men at the moment, although the more men are stepping forward actually the last few months than ever before. And what I can say is they are wonderful women that are in total divine love. They are in that state of divinity. They know who they are. They're very strong, not in an aggressive way. They are strong, they are loving, they are exuding spiritual energy, and they are not in a state of neediness whatsoever. But they do wish, some of them, not all of them, but some of them do wish to have a complementary partner in some description alongside them, just to share that with. And these are women that have got, they've got friends around them. Some of these women are very high players in society, really high players in society, very successful. But I'm talking about their spiritual prowess, if you want here, their spiritual energy. And so what I'm saying is, this is going to even out, because it has to. It has to. It's an imbalance when you look across the world and you see thousands, not millions, but thousands in that place. And I mean, I'm going to have to say here, I'm going to include myself in that, because I'm in that exact space as well, where I have come fully into my own, fully into completion, done that independently, totally independently of a physical presence of any spiritual male connection in my life, gone through a huge process, done a lot of work, and I'm really starting to stand in my power now. And I say starting to stand in my power because I know there's a lot more to come yet, which is quite exciting. And I see it across the world. And I see the sadness it brings for some of those women, because they think, well, I've experienced this, but then they get a little bit, sometimes they get a bit fearful, and they say, does that mean then I'm here but never destined to experience divine love in a relationship format? For a very small percentage of them, a very small percentage, especially service orientated, it may well be the case because they're here to model divinity, divine love, spiritual love, source, regardless. And those in the service orientated capacity, if for whatever reason, and we see it time and time again, one steps forward representing the flame, the twin flame union, and one decides to turn away from themselves or turn away from their own divinity. I'm not implying that every time they are separate that's what happens. I'm just saying if that's the case in that scenario, because sometimes you can get them turn away from each other and they both do their own independent, if you want to call it, mission, you know. But if that's the case, then sometimes there is that percentage there. But I can tell you this, it's a strange thing for me to say, and I'm being very, very open here. I'm kind of known for that. I'm being very open and very honest here. You will get to a stage in your evolution, I can promise you, where you really won't mind either way. You will get to a state of peacefulness and love within that it will not trouble you any longer if a twin flame were next to you or never next to you again, ever destined to be in your timeline again. Now, this is the first time I've said this on camera, and I hope it helps, and this is why I'm saying it on camera. I am not destined ever to be physically around a twin flame in this lifetime timeline again. I would not have been able to say that on camera a year ago without being devastated. I can say it now and be completely and totally at peace with that. And if you were to try and question me and say, but how can you say that? Of course I can say that. I have the knowing on it, not the feeling on it, but the knowing on it. And I am more than happy with that. The point I'm making here is, in our evolution, you have the opportunity to get to that space. And when you get into that space, it's pretty wonderful, really. Because then you're willing to step forward with other energies, compatible energies that you can have these authentic qualities with, that you can have experiences with, that you can even collaborate in acts of service with. Do you see what I'm saying? There are no limitations there. Now I've slightly backtracked because the point I was making here is that there is a slight imbalance at the moment across the planet, and it is the feminine mainly that's holding this energy. Now I can't remember who said this, and forgive me because I can't remember, and it was somebody, you know, very honourable. I think it was someone like, well, I can't remember, I'm not going to guess, but anyway. It has been said for quite some time that it would be the feminine energy and the feminine energy from the Western world that was going to pull things round from the brink. That's certainly kind of what I'm seeming to see. And I'm seeing that across the planet, really. What I would say is I know it's going to balance out. And I know it's going to balance out. And you know what? There are thousands of us that are in this wave of, at the front, if you like, of this wave of change. And I know anything and everything is possible, and there are some great, amazing changes coming, huge changes coming for us all personally and, you know, collectively and on this planet. And it's a weird space to be in, and when you're in this space, and I know some of you are, you'll understand what I mean. You kind of embrace it, you kind of live in the moment. It's quite magical, and you will know and you will understand and you will embody that there are no limitations to the infinite love that you are. The only people that ever put limitations on that are us, is the human mind. There are opportunities to express that love, to embody that love, and to share that love in so many different ways. The romantic way of sharing it is incredibly beautiful, but it isn't the only way. But I can say to you, hand on heart, that I don't believe, but that I know that in these times that we're stepping into and in these times to come, that we will see a balance across the board of the masculine representation of energy and the feminine representation of energy coming together in an equal fashion across the board. We will see these spiritual partnerships, these spiritual forms of relationships forming, and they will eventually become the norm. Not just for us and the generations below us, but for our children and our children's children. And that is something that I know. I'm going to finish off here with saying, I sincerely hope, and you will be the first ones to know, that I'm able to model to you that final embodiment of spiritual connection. I am still the embodiment of the twin flame union in the capacity that I am able to do it, minus an outer representation of the masculine energy. I've done that effectively with a broken wing. I've experienced dark catalysts and I've experienced light catalysts. And there is only one arena I have left yet to experience, and every step of the way I've shared it, I've embodied it, and I've worked that energy. And I don't know, it makes me smile, I have a sneaky feeling that the best is yet to come. And on that note, I will love you and leave you, because my eyes are just filling up. And it's honestly, it is not sadness. I've just got this wave of heart energy going here. Just a wave of it just went whoosh when I said that. And when I know when I heal my clients, give my clients hands-on healing, when I'm talking at seminars or any of those things, people do this all the time because they just get this whoosh of love. And I just got it then when I said that. So I hope you felt it too. I'm going to get off camera before a tear runs down my cheek. I will love you and leave you. And in the name of the flame, rock on. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.